Hi guys, at the time of the recording of this video, at the early end of the counting of the ballots, it wasn't looking good for Rishi Sunak and the Tories. Now that could change, but there were two major problems facing the Conservatives. First, Labour's share of the vote had increased since the last local elections. This means that they aren't just holding on to councils, but are flipping some. Second, there's a massive swing taking place towards Reform UK. In some cases, if the Tories had dropped something like 20%, Reform gained exactly the same amount. This is a disaster for the Tories, considering Nigel Farage hasn't really campaigned for reform. So who's to blame? Well, it's the voters, you see. Lia Nici the MP for Grimsby seems to think that's the case.
Lia, what is your reading of what the teams are expecting here tonight? Because you're going to lose seats, aren't you?
Yes, we always knew we would lose seats because obviously we took over a huge amount of seats over the last few years, and that's very unusual for somewhere like Grimsby in particular. It's been a Labour seat for a very, very long time, and similarly with the council. We do have a lot of independents as well who are standing. So yes, I expect that we would lose some seats, yes. 7
out of the 12, that's the target for the Conservatives to retain control of this council, North East Lincolnshire. Will they do that, or will it go to no overall control?
I think it's difficult to say at the moment because obviously we've just been verifying the ballots, but I think it's going to be in the balance. I do absolutely think it's going to be in the balance, yes. What
have you been told by the activists who've been out on the doorsteps in this part of Lincolnshire, just as to how hard the sell is for the Conservative brand at the moment?
I think it's very, very sad because the Conservative-led council has done some fantastic work. It's really working really hard on levelling up, on regeneration in the town centre. And so it is very difficult for them because obviously people mix up the national picture and how they're feeling nationally and what's happening locally.
Okay, but if people are upset with the National Party, then why isn't the National Party doing something to help the local party? I've said this before, if Rishi Sunak had actually come up with some policies to help people instead of going down this rabbit hole of culture wars and immigration and stuff like that, if he actually helped the country, pumped money into councils, pumped money into the economy, created jobs, created investment, attracted investment, then the results would be more positive for the Conservatives at the local level. You can't just blame the voters for not understanding the difference between the Conservative Party at the national level and the Conservative Party at the local level. People are looking around and seeing their towns falling apart. They're seeing a cost of living crisis, and they're not seeing anything done to help them.
And I think it would be a great shame if they lose overall control because they've done a fantastic job over the last few years.
You say a fantastic job, but we've spent a lot of time here over the last few months as part of our Target Towns series. People are really hacked off with politicians, the pace of regeneration, the fact there are so many empty shops in the town centre here still. The big promises do not come through quickly enough and people don't feel it.
But you can't change everything in a very, very short time. You can't have a place like Grimsby that's been in the doldrums for 50 years and within 3 years, maybe 2 because of COVID, actually change things. There are multi-million pound projects going on and all of that needs to come through to fruition. When you look at Freshney Place, which is our shopping centre, that's 90% full. It is very, very vibrant.
Okay. You can't say that the council is doing a wonderful job and then say, well, you need to give them more time. Well, which is it? They're doing a wonderful job or they're not doing a wonderful job, but they need more time. Now, to move away from this for a moment, it's not looking good for the Conservatives. It's not looking good for Rishi Sunak because it seems to be the case that the Labour Party at this moment are holding on to a number of councils. They're increasing their vote, which means that they're likely to flip more councils. And Reform UK are, in a sense, taking the Conservative vote. So wherever the Conservative vote has dropped, it seems to have gone directly to Reform UK. And this is, remember, at a time when Nigel Farage isn't really campaigning for the party. So It's going to be interesting to see how many more councils flip, if the Conservatives are able to hold on to some, if they're able to win any, and what's going to happen with the mayors. So the two Conservative mayors in particular are going to be very interesting to watch. Now, I don't know if we'll have results for those on Friday, Saturday, or we'll have to wait until Sunday. But those, I think, will be the make or break for Rishi Sunak. He may be able to try and sell his party. Look, yes, the election results at the local level were not great. We should have done better, but it's not a good idea to replace me. But I think if he loses these mayors, one or both, I think it will be the end of Rishi Sunak, because he will be under so much pressure to resign or call an election. I think it'll be too difficult for him to ignore. And what will happen then? Well, will the Conservatives replace him with Penny Mordaunt or Kemi Badenoch or someone like that? It's possible. Or will he just call a general election straight away to try and move away from this disaster? Either way, it's not looking good. And remember, as I said, Nigel Farage isn't even campaigning yet. And if he does start campaigning for Reform UK, there's a possibility that they could win at least one seat. I've said before, I don't think they can win a seat. But looking at some of the results, I know this is at the local level. It's not the same at the national level. But looking at some of the results and how votes have flipped completely from the Conservatives to Reform UK, a Tory MP in a difficult spot could end up losing their seat to Reform UK if the Labour MP doesn't do, or the Labour candidate doesn't do very well. A number of factors could work in a way to help Reform actually win a seat. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.